Hello everyone and welcome back to Whiskey Wednesday, the final part of this little Bruichladdich stint. It's probably not October when this comes out, but that's fine because this is not an Octomore. What is this thing? Well, where do we begin? This is a private cask bottling of Bruichladdich distillate, not any other form of distillate from that distillery. It is 16 years old. It is 54.7% ABV, and it is fully matured in Chateau D'yquem cask. This is a pretty unusual story. I emailed Bruichladdich about this bottle, and even the lady who replied to me was like, yeah, we don't really know what that is, which is kind of good, because that's the exact reply I expect from Bruichladdich, to be honest. Because they should always have weird, fun things kicking around that not everyone knows about. Oh, she's alright. So, facts and figures. There are quite a lot of them, so do bear with me. This is called End of Message, and it comes in this rather funky little box. And I've never seen every Bruichladdich private cask I've ever seen either doesn't come in a box or comes in a totally different style of box. So I don't know if Bruichladdich leave that up to you and they just bottle the whiskey. So this has a very like World War II or Cold War typage message thing going on with it. Like all these little boxes and things and like almost air stamp looking things. Quite fun, very unusual. And there's a story on the front of it which reads 2 casks, 2 siblings, 2 bottlings, 3 years apart, brought under the cork in this unique offering. A message in a bottle. A father bought 2 casks of whiskey for, I believe, his 2 sons, one of them being this one of 281 release, unpeated, Bruichladdich 16-year-old, fully matured in Chateau D'yquem. Just look at that colour. It's like sesame oil. I do have some in the glass here. It's not as dark. I mean, it's still pretty dark. And I'm not normally a Sauterne fan, or a wine cask fan in general. They're not my favourite things. In fact, while I talk to you, let me try and find the website where this thing is sold. End of message, Bruichladdich 16-year-old. So, this is exclusively available through a retailer called drinkfinder.co.uk. It's on their website for £220 a bottle. And I think that, yeah, it's an exclusive with them. This bottle was sent to me via Mark Littler, who I do some work for on his website and stuff. He kept 1 sample. I have given a fair chunk of this out because I just needed people's opinions on it. Because when I smelt this, it was the strangest thing I'd ever smelt. And I was convinced it was peated, and it isn't, because on the side it just say somewhere on it that it is just Bruichladdich distillate. Doesn't actually use the word unpeated on it anywhere. There are some tasting notes on it, but it doesn't mention peat at all. Leave that with me. We'll probably find it again in a bit. But yeah, distilled, matured, and bottled at Bruichladdich. Insane looking thing. Look at this. Sauternes wine, Chateau D'yquem. Chateau D'yquem, known as Grand Sauternes in some circles. Essentially, Chateau D'yquem it's owned by LVMH, so as a brand it's owned by Glenmorangie and Ardbegg's parent company, which is odd to not see them use it more. Chateau D'yquem is really difficult to make, and it's some of the most loved dessert wine in the world. It can take up to I think it's 13 harvests to get the right amount of grapes to create what they need and to get this very sought after wine. In the same way you look at Sauternes and ice wine in Canada as well. Instead of the grapes freezing, so that the water freezes and you can get more of the alcohols, produce more juice for the alcohols. With Chateau D'yquem and all Sauternes styles, and things like Tokaj wine as well, they introduce something called noble rot into the grape. This essentially makes the grape expand, and you just get like a higher content of sugars it makes the grape sort of compress into itself, almost raisin, and you get a higher sugar content naturally, and then you create wine with that, and then you put it into barrels, and you can produce just insane looking distillates that look like that. I've never seen a full Chateau D'yquem maturation before. I've seen loads of Sauternes finishing, but never full maturation. Wine people are probably going to be going off at me in the comments about that, but I don't know a lot about wine. This isn't Wine Wednesday, it is Whiskey Wednesday. So let's just dive into this. And again, I apologise in advance for the snoozing dog. My God, that is weird. When I first got given this, I was like, it's smoky, it's peated. And the folks at Bruichladdich are like, no, if it doesn't say Rins, Port Charlotte, Lockendal or Octomore, it's definitely not peated. And now that it's calmed down a little bit, it's not peated. But there are insane classic Bruichladdich notes, and then just some really weird stuff happening too. Bruichladdich, I've had some incredible old Bruichladdich over the years, and when they're fully matured in one type of barrel, the note I always get from all of them is Parmesan cheese. They just have this old, leathery, aged, crumbly thing about them. This one is no different. It's like opening a wheel of Parmesan. And then around that are all these little buttery sweet things. There's like hints of apricot, there's a little bit of marzipan. Much like you get with any Sauternes cask release. In fact, yeah, the Ardent American Sauternes we reviewed a few weeks ago. That again was like all apricot, all marzipan. But there's some deep, dark, intense caramel notes with this, and then more of those earthy notes that you just get from Bruichladdich without it being peated. You've got these crazy salt notes which are really setting off the Parmesan and these fruits. I mentioned it looks like sesame oil. And there is almost an oily content to it, whether you'd want to call it like extra virgin olive oil or sesame oil. The saltiness could make you think it was soy. It's like super umami. The herbal notes to it are incredible. It's none of these like fresh summer herbs. It's not basil. It's not very dill driven. It's just like dark, heavy rosemary, sage that have been like burnt. And on the subject of like burnt things, we mentioned in the previous video with the 15.3 Octomore, that idea of burnt lemon and burnt herbs. This is a fresh glass. I'm recording this on the same day I recorded that one, but there is still that aroma there. But then out of nowhere, straight through the middle, that Parmesan thing just comes back. It's just an insane bottle of whiskey. And it's kind of what I want from Bruichladdich, you know? I want someone to say, have you ever tried a cask strength 16-year-old full maturation in Chateau D'yquem? Some of you may say yes. I, up until this point, said no. And this is what I kind of expect from them. That's the Bruichladdich private cask bottle label on the back. So if you do ever see a label like this, has been done by Bruichladdich, but is probably for some form of private clientele. We did another one of these years ago when we used to film in the whiskey shop, and it was a River Saltes French red wine cask, which I thought meant revitalised sherry, and then was thankfully proven wrong. But I bought that as well, and that was like really weird. And I feel like Bruichladdich should just buy all of these private casks back and just release them as like a private cask series, because I would buy every single one of them just to be, at this point, blown away by the two that I've tried. But let's taste this. Ooh. That is a bottle of whiskey that just is designed to fight you. If any of you have the ability to try this, if any of you end up buying one, because I have left a link in the bio box below, even if you wanted to check it out. This is not an affiliated video or anything, but it's just they're the only retailer that have it. You would still think this is peaty by the way it pulls moisture out of your mouth. The first wave is of these dry, rubbery, almost medicinal aromas, but it's unpeated distillate. And then the alcohol pulls every ounce of moisture out of your mouth. And then you start to get this relinquishment of sweet Sauternes, of like apricot-y, vanilla-y, creme brulee, creme caramel kind of flavours. In fact, now on the finish, we're getting this beautiful, really fresh, like white grape note. If you gave me that blind, I'd be like, 100% that's peaty. Because the way this thing delivers its first sip, it's almost like pseudo-peat. It's really unusual. Part of me wishes it was peated, because it would just be additionally strange. But let's do some more tasting notes. Okay, along with the Parmesan thing, Bruichladdich is also known to be sometimes quite a butyric style of whiskey. You can Google that if you want. I don't really want to use the exact terms that is typically associated with, but let's just say it can be quite acidic as a style. And when you kind of dwell this on your palate a little bit, you get this run of cheesy, bright, crumbly Parmesan things, and then you get this almost balsamic vinegar note that kind of tries to wipe away the power of all of these like darker, more savoury, umami things. And then straight down the middle, you've got you've got Chateau D'yquem going like, it's some sweetness, let's get rid of this dryness. It's almost like the panicked chef in the kitchen that's trying to put out all these crazy fires of like really powerful flavour. I will say that in terms of influence, the Chateau D'yquem does lose out to the distillate, which is quite an impressive thing to say. It's 16 years old. And I think this will be a whiskey that really divides people, because if you love Chateau D'yquem, you probably won't get as much as a taste of it. Apart from on the finish, I've mentioned that grape note, and there is just that like delicious brown sugar sweetness that you can get from Sauternes and Chateau D'yquem. But I love this thing. Like, it's just one of the funnest, weirdest bottles of whiskey I've ever had the privilege to try, and it's just outrageous in what it does. It has coated the whole bottom of the bottle in like sediment and dust, and it's just been sat on like my little bar. And since I've had it, which has been about a month, I think, I've just had little bits every now and then, and every time I've gone back to it, I've been like, how does it taste the way it does? Because it just doesn't make any sense to me. This gets a 9 from me. It is exactly what I want from a Bruichladdich private cask release. Massive age. That's not the most important thing, but big age on it. Cask strength. Unbelievable single cask maturation. I still can't get over the colour. You don't see colours like this on like 30, 40, 50-year-old sherry cask whiskies these days. Just unbelievable. And bar means if I've missed out some sort of stat or figure on this, if you do check us out on Instagram, Facebook, we have a page on Twitter still. All of the like still shots will be on there, so you can see them in a bit more detail. But I adore this thing. Like, I'm just going to sit here and, you know what? This is going to be a long video, but let me add a little bit of water and just see what happens if we add a tiny bit of water to it. Because every person I've given this to, even Bruichladdich diehards, have been like, love it, hate it. But I think if you're looking for just something weird, there are worse bottles of whiskey you could buy for this amount of money. I think this is like one of the purest, most unique expressions of anything from Islay that I've ever tried. That butyric thing comes out quite a lot more on the nose, but so does the D'yquem, to be fair. You've got this nice balance of vinegar and sweetness. So again, like red wine vinegar, or like soy, like balsamic. But it's got weight to it, and the weight is the sugariness. The water does cancel out a lot of the dryness. and it then puts the dryness on the finish with a good bit of like oaky spice as well. And then with the water, you do get more of the wine up front. You are getting more of that brown sugar apricot thing. There's even like a yeastiness to the end of it. But again, that could just be mistaken for salt, because it is one of, if not the saltiest whiskey I've ever tried. But for me, that's a 9. That's absolutely delicious. The review I've done for the whiskey wash is the same score. It's a 9 out of 10. Slightly more detailed with the tasting notes on there. So if you want to head to the whiskey wash, the review should be published by this point, I think. If not, I'll make a post of when it is. But yeah, this is the end of message. Bruichladdich, 16-year-old, fully matured in Chateau D'yquem. One of only 281 bottles. It was distilled on the 15th of July 2002. Interesting time for Bruichladdich. And bottled on August 2018. 54.7% ABV. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week for one of the worst and most disappointing whiskies I've ever tried in my life. I'll see you then. Cheers.